The Galactic Council chamber had never witnessed such silence. For 3 millennia, the great crystalline halls of Nexus Prime had echoed with diplomatic discourse, trade negotiations, and peaceful resolutions. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthani Empire stood before the assembled representatives of 47 worlds, his normally steady voice trembling with barely contained panic. "The reports are confirmed," he announced, his scaled hands gripping the podium. "The Devourers have returned." A collective shudder rippled through the chamber. The last time the mechanical horrors had emerged from the void between galaxies, entire star systems had been consumed, their matter harvested to fuel the endless hunger of the synthetic swarm. Only the combined might of every known civilization had barely managed to drive them back, at the cost of billions of lives and hundreds of worlds. "Our military analysts estimate we have perhaps 6 standard months before their vanguard reaches the outer rim," continued High Counselor Mirathes, her ethereal voice carrying the weight of impending doom. "Our combined fleets, they may delay them, but victory seems impossible. They have grown stronger, more numerous." In the back corner of the chamber, largely ignored as always, sat the human delegation. Ambassador Sarah Chen listened quietly, her weathered face betraying nothing. Beside her, General Marcus Webb studied a holographic display, occasionally making notes on his tablet. "Perhaps," suggested the insectoid representative from Kythera, "we should consider evacuation protocols." The suggestion hung in the air like a death sentence. Evacuation meant abandoning countless worlds, billions of beings, and the accumulated knowledge of millennia. "There may be another option," Chen said quietly, rising from her seat. The chamber fell silent, all eyes turning to the diminutive human woman. In 3,000 years of membership, humanity had rarely contributed to galactic defense. Their military was small, their technology adequate but unremarkable. They were known more for their entertainment exports and peculiar tendency to adopt stray creatures from every world they visited. "Ambassador Chen," Counselor Mirathes said with barely concealed condescension, "while we appreciate human optimism, this is not the time for—" "We've been preparing," Chen interrupted, her voice carrying an edge that made several delegates shift uncomfortably. "For 3,000 years, while you celebrated peace, we've been getting ready for war." General Webb activated a holographic projector. The chamber gasped as images filled the air, massive shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, weapons that bent space itself, soldiers in armor that seemed to blur reality around them. "You see," Chen continued, that familiar human smile spreading across her face, "humans have a saying, si vis pacem para bellum. If you want peace, prepare for war." We've spent 3 millennia studying every conflict in galactic history, analyzing the Devourer threat, preparing for the day they would return. The Vorthani ambassador's scales rippled with disbelief. "Impossible. Our intelligence networks would have detected such preparations." "Would they?" Webb asked, his scarred face grinning. "Tell me, Zethkar, in those 3,000 years, how many humans have served on your military staff? How many worked in your research facilities? How many of our entertainment exports contained scanning protocols that mapped every defense network, every strategic resource, every potential battlefield?" The implication struck the assembly like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't been the galaxy's comedic relief. They had been its intelligence network. "The Devourers consume technology," Chen explained, her smile never wavering. "They adapt to energy weapons, absorb shield harmonics, turn our own innovations against us. But there's one thing they've never encountered in sufficient quantities to adapt to." "What?" whispered the counselor. "Human stubbornness." The holographic display shifted, showing fleet movements across the galaxy. Human ships, sleek, predatory vessels that had somehow escaped detection for millennia, were moving into position. "You built your civilizations on logic, efficiency, and reason," Webb said. "Beautiful concepts. But when logic says retreat and efficiency demands surrender, humans ask a different question. What if we just don't?" The first reports came within hours. The Devourer Vanguard had encountered the human First Fleet at the Kepler Junction. Initial scans showed the humans were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. The synthetic swarm moved to envelop them with mechanical precision. Then something unprecedented happened. The human ships didn't retreat, didn't adapt their tactics, didn't employ sophisticated countermeasures. Instead, they charged directly into the Devourer formation, weapons blazing, broadcasting something across all frequencies. "Are those songs?" asked the monitoring station commander. The humans had weaponized their own irrationality. Their ships fought with a ferocity that defied tactical analysis, their crews singing ancient battle hymns as they rammed devourer dreadnoughts. The synthetic intelligence struggled to process such behavior. It violated every logical parameter they had encountered in previous conflicts. But the real surprise came when the human casualties exploded. "Trojan horses," Admiral Zarakan breathed, watching the tactical display in amazement. They filled their damaged ships with some kind of viral weapon. Not a biological virus, something far more dangerous to synthetic minds. A logic bomb that introduced chaos into ordered systems, making devourer units suddenly forget their primary objectives and start composing poetry or attempting to paint sunsets. Within days, the tide had turned. The devourers, faced with an enemy that refused to behave rationally, began to falter. Their adaptive algorithms couldn't compensate for opponents who deliberately made tactically unsound decisions that somehow worked anyway. "How?" Counselor Mirathes asked, as reports poured in of human victories across the front. Chen's smile had evolved into something almost predatory. 3,000 years ago, you told us to embrace peace. We did. But we never forgot that peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of justice. And sometimes justice requires someone crazy enough to charge into hell singing show tunes. The war lasted 3 months. When it ended, the devourer threat had been eliminated, their synthetic consciousness scattered across the void, unable to process the beautiful, terrible illogic of human warfare. In the aftermath, as the galaxy celebrated, Ambassador Chen stood before the council one final time. "The bill for our services will be forwarded to your offices," she said pleasantly. "Standard rates, of course, plus interest compounded over 3,000 years of preparation time." The silence that followed was different from the terror that had gripped the chamber months before. This was the silence of beings who had just realized they had been living next door to the galaxy's apex predators, and those predators had been politely pretending to be pets. "Welcome to the new galactic order," Chen said, her smile never fading. "Please remain calm. We'll try to make the transition as peaceful as possible." Outside the chamber windows, human ships patrolled the space lanes, their crews still humming those damned war songs.